in the middle, and I'll just start over. Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to do a bezel set cab, and we're going to be doing it on on lacy stiff stuff along with ultra suede. I am using size 11 delicas. I'm going to use caramel Ceylon and matte opaque sea foam, and I'm using a green homomorphite cab here. And what I've done to start out with is I've cut the lacy stiff stuff down a little bit and traced my cabochon. We're going to be doing the same thing later on with the ultra suede. We're going to be tracing our project, but for now the ultra suede can be put aside. I also have 0.006 wildfire beading thread, and I have it on a size 10 English beading needle. I'm going to take my cabochon off my stiff stuff, and to begin I'm going to take my thread and needle, which I have a knot on the end of, and I'm going to sew right along that line that I've made. And I'm going to sew 3 of my delicas at a time. So I've sewn up through the back of the stiff stuff. 3 delicas on. I let them drop down exactly in place where they need to go. And then I'm going to continue to sew along that line. So I push them exactly where they need to go right after those beads. I'm going to sew down through the stiff stuff, out the bottom, and those beads will lay right along my line. I'm going to take my thread then right below that initial knot and sew up through the back of the stiff stuff again. And you do want your thread to stay on the inner portion of the circle. You don't want it to go to the outer portion because this will be covered by the cab. So if it is inside a little bit, it's better rather than outside. I'm going to sew back through those original 3 beads. And I found 3 is kind of the magic number for this. 4 gets a little long and 2's a little short, and 1's just a pain. So I had now sewed through those original 3 beads, and now I'm going to put 3 more beads on and continue that same process, lining them up against the line, taking my needle right along the line, through to the back, and then I'm going to take my needle and bring it back through my project right below where that first thread came back. And that's going to bring it below those 3 beads. I'm going to continue this the whole way around my cab, sewing through those 3 beads that I just put on, and then adding 3 more beads at a time. This is going to make a nice line the whole way along your cabochon. So I've gone through the whole outer perimeter of the stiff stuff and right along that line with my thread and my needle. And what I've done is made sure when I'm done and getting towards the end that I have an even count of beads on. So right here I have 52 beads on my 25 by 18 millimeter cab. The 52 beads, after I add them, what I do is go through the original first 3 beads that I put on after I put on my last 3. And then I'm going to have my thread coming out the top. At this point I'm going to put my cab on and just make sure that it fits in there right nice and tight. So when I'm looking at it, it just gets a nice little fit right inside that. At this point, if you want to, you're going to go ahead and you can take glue right along the back of your cab, and you can glue it onto your stiff stuff. You won't see the glue, so you might as well. So I'm going to take some glue on my glue my cab onto my stiff stuff, and then I will show you how to add more seed beads and how to build up your peyote. Now I've glued my cab onto my stiff stuff, and what I want to do when I'm gluing, something that I forgot to mention, is you don't want to over glue your cabochon. What's going to happen is the glue is going to seep out the back of the stiff stuff, as well as the glue can close up the holes on your seed beads. If you over glue, it's going to seep into those holes. So now I'm getting ready to add my second layer of seed beads. Some people at this point will cut off the rest of their stiff stuff, and what you're going to do is turn it over the back and cut it as close as you can around the back of those stitches. I usually like to have something else to hold on to while I'm working on it, so I keep the stiff stuff on until I'm done doing the next couple rows. I'm going to start the second row with the Ceylon color, and that is going to give you a little bit of a different look. And all this is even count peyote. I'm going to skip the next bead in line, and I'm going to pick up one of my seafoam green beads and pull that through and I'm going to continue going the whole way along the line with peyote. If you're not positive how to do peyote, you can check out our other videos, and that will show you kind of the process of doing it. But basically, I am skipping one bead, picking up the next, and those cream colored beads are going to lay at every other station. So I pick up a bead, I sew through after one skipped bead. And that's going to start my peyote. I'm going to do this the whole way along the side of my cabochon. Eventually, those beads are going to sit right up nice next to the cab. Right now, I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's not going to happen until I really start to pull in and use a different size 15 bead. So I'm going to continue doing this peyote row the whole way around my cabochon. So now that I've gone the whole way around doing peyote, I'm going to take my last bead to put on of my Ceylon color. I'm going through the first original turquoise bead there, that seafoam color. And then what I'm going to do to step up is sew through the first one of the cream colored Ceylon bead that I put on. Now I'm going to continue with my peyote. And as I'm doing this peyote row, I am going to pull a little bit tighter. So these beads that were on the outside are going to start pushing up and laying right along my cabochon. So go ahead and put some 11-0 delicas on at this point and sew through all of the cream colored ones that are sitting up. So I've continued adding rows to my peyote, and right now I am 5 rows high. I did another row of the light caramel, then I did a row of the seafoam. I'm going to then pick up my 15s. The amount of rows that you need is dependent on the curvature of your cab. So a cab that doesn't sit very high, you may only need 3 rows. A cab that sits really high, you may need 7 or 8 rows, depending on kind of how high you're going. What I'm going to do now is pull the delicas in by using a smaller bead. So it's sitting right along the side of my cab. And what I'm going to do is start picking up 15-0 seed beads. I forgot to mention these in the beginning of the video because I never think about them until the end when we actually have to pull everything in. And I'm using this pewter color, or the gunmetal color, and I'm just going to continue my peyote just like I was for the previous rows. And what this is going to do is as you use a smaller bead,